Hey, what's up, guys? Signal What Ifs here. Before this video starts, I would like to mention a couple things. For starters, this is What If Deku Had a Nice Quirk Part 2, and also, I am sorry that I have not been uploading this past week. I said that I would upload more frequently, but I could not. I had some family issues at the time, and I just wanted to spend time with my family. And I'm sorry to those who I told that it was coming out like the very next day. This was recorded roughly 2 days before New Year's, and I'm uploading it. I don't know. I'll probably be uploading it the day after New Year's or the day before. I truly don't know. But until then, without further ado, let's get back into the story. I know I should have probably done this in the intro, but I'm gonna just say it now. I made a mistake in the last video. It was the temperatures of Azuku's ice. The coldest ice Azuku can make is dry ice. Dry ice is the coldest ice, ranging from negative 106 to negative 120 degrees Fahrenheit. And, yeah, that's just what I wanted to say. But let's get into the video. Now, I left off where Azuku and Fuyumi had just woken up. Well, not really Fuyumi. Azuku woke up and she felt him moving, so yeah, she woke up as well. And Azuku, he's wondering what happened, and then he ponders for a sec, and then he finally realizes what's happening and what happened, and he looks to his left because like he feels someone moving, and he's like, who's there? And then he literally lifts off the covers and he sees Fuyumi just waking up, and he's like, oh wait, when did I, oh wait, yeah. And like, yeah, I know Fuyumi and him are dating now, so like, yeah, he's not like blushing like madman, like, nah, yeah. So Azuku and Fuyumi, Todoroki, Bakugo, and Momo all get their letters of acceptance, and this is the order it goes in. It's Deku who got the most, Bakugo who got second, and since Todoroki got a recommendation from his father, he doesn't have a score. So yeah, and Fuyumi, she gets fourth, and Momo, she gets third. So yeah. And to answer a couple questions, how come Momo can have one for all if her body uses body fat, this and this and that, I've explained it in my comment section before. Momo will just have to eat double the amount of calories she would usually have, not to make up for her own quirk, but to also to maintain the muscle mass needed to use one for all. So it's like, let's say she usually eats around 80 calories, or like per day she eats around 2,000 calories. She would have to eat roughly 5,000, maybe 6,000, so that she can consistently keep using her quirk, but also consistently maintain the muscle mass needed to use one for all. So yeah, like some people were wondering that. I'm just gonna answer it in the video. So yeah, let's get into it. Now, Azuku, he's happy he got into UA. So is Fuyumi. And Todoroki, he's just like meh, because he knew he was getting in. He got a recommendation. Bakugo still doing his war on Deku. And yeah, Izuku, nah, know what? Fuck it. I'ma cut to the first day of UA. And during those 2 weeks, him and Fuyumi got even closer. So like, yeah, just letting you know that now. Now, Azuku and Fuyumi, they walk in at the same time. Todoroki, Bakugo, Momo following close behind them, and they're all just looking for the 1A door. Like, they're just looking for the classroom because they never got a tour, they never got nothing. So they're just looking for it now. And when they finally get to the 1A dormatory, what the fuck, not dorms. the 1A classroom, Izuku, he asks the famous question, does giants go here or something? Because why is this door so big? And Momo is just like, probably because, let's say they have a transformation quirk, or someone like a mountain lady who can't transform out of her massive state, then I guess that's for them. But like, this door, it's utterly massive. I'm surprised that students can move it. And that's when Bakugo pipes up. He's like, maybe they're expecting us to be physically strong, I guess. And Fuyumi and Todoroki are just laughing at this, because like they're laughing at their friends pondering on how the hell they're supposed to move this door. But then when Deku grabs onto it and moves it, he realizes it's surprisingly light and just opens it. So yeah, they walk in. Because they all walk to school together, they're the first 5 there. And yeah, because like Momo wanted to be early, and Todoroki and Fuyumi wanted to get out of the house as fast as possible. And Deku, he just wanted to be early. So yeah, they're all early. Now, Azuku just sits in the back next to Fuyumi. Bakugo puts his feet up, sits in front of Azuku. Momo sits in front of Bakugo. No, 2 seats in front of Bakugo, and next to her is Todoroki. So like, yeah, they're just sitting in like a upside down J type thing. So yeah. Now, Azuku. Oh fuck! I dropped my phone. And Azuku, he's still tired, and he already knows Aizawa's in the room because, well, he can feel the presence in the room. His presence allows him to see other people's presence within a certain vicinity just by releasing it just a teensy bit. If he fully released it, he would have froze over the entire room and would have gave everybody hypothermia, which he does not want to do. But I'm pretty sure the only people who could somewhat survive it is Todoroki and Fuyumi, and even then that's still really iffy. But like, anyways, Deku, he senses Aizawa because like his presence is still leaking just a little bit, just enough for him to know who's around him, so no one can sneak up on him. So yeah, and he literally senses her. Senses, not her, him. He senses him. Now, Izuku, he thinks, he ponders on himself, should he go back to sleep, because like he's really early, and like they're like the first ones there. Like they're so early that it's still dark outside. That's how early they are. So it just ponders on them on whether or not they should just straight up just sit back, talk to each other, or just take a nap. Azuku, he chose to take a nap. Bakugo, he just chose to take out a book and start reading for a bit. Fuyumi's just talking with Momo, and Todoroki's just chilling, just reading a book. And when Ida comes in, he's like the 6th one there. He comes in, he sees Bakugo, he starts doing his rant, except this time Bakugo just stays quiet and allows him to talk because he just does not care. Because to him, Ida's that irrelevant to his life, so he's just not. And yeah, Izuku rubbed off on Bakugo, not the other way around. So yeah, he's doing fine. And I'm gonna just add a little something here. Instead of the person arguing with Ida, instead of never mind. Instead of Bakugo talking back, he just stays quiet and just waits for everybody else to walk in. And because of Ida's constant banter, and he was about to get on Izuku, but Izuku was like half asleep at this point, because like, who the hell can stay asleep when Ida's running his mouth? Like, on God, who like, actually, this is an actual question for the viewers. If you had an Ida in your class and you're trying to sleep in class, do you truly think you will be able to sleep? Just let me know in the comments. I'll give y'all a second. Alright, now let's get back to the story. Azuku, he's half asleep, and Ida sees that Azuku is still asleep, and he's about to touch him, but Azuku, he gets slightly mad because like this man's literally about to touch a random person just for sleeping and about to touch a random person he has no clue over just to like wake him up when literally class doesn't start for another 2 hours. So yeah. And Azuku, he gets pissed like slightly, so he releases a bit more of his presence, and everyone in the classroom just straight up starts shivering a bit. Because Azuku, let's say that the room temperature was around 96 to 196 degrees, like 94, 96 degrees, around the human body temperature. And let's just say when Azuku's presence is slightly leaking, the little area where he's in just drops to 2 degrees. But when Azuku released his presence even more, it dropped, the entire classroom dropped by 20 degrees. So it's roughly 60 degrees, a very significant and noticeable difference. Yet Ida, he shakes it off thinking it must be like the AC or something, and he grabs Azuku's shoulder. Azuku wastes no time and puts his hand over Ida's hand and freezes Ida's hand with the weakest amount of ice you can conjure. And Ida instantly feels this. He instantly jerks his hand back and says, "How dare you use your quirk on me?" And Azuku's like, "Didn't you just like put your hands on me?" And Ida, knowing that there's no way he's winning this fight, just goes back to his seat. Also, if anybody wonders how Ida's hand is not completely, frozen over, like how is it like even still standing? The weakest amount of ice is like the ice you can make in a freezer. And if you have a really, really bad freezer, that ice is going to be mostly water. Except it's going to be solid, except it's going to be really weak, meaning that if you were to just wait out a little bit, your hand will defrost. So yeah, Azuku let out very, very weak ice, and he froze over Tenya Ida's hand, and yeah, Tenya Ida backed off like the bitch he is. Because he knew damn well he wasn't gonna win that fight. Because not only did everything in his favor was completely gone, he decided to touch him first. So like, if this was a courtroom, Ida would be getting jail time. And if he was black, he'd probably be getting even more jail time. And I can make that joke, I'm black, so yeah. Now, your boy Azuku, he's awake now because he knows damn well that if he goes back to sleep, Ida's probably going to try to do some bullshit to him or someone else in the class. And Bakugo, he's just chilling, chuckling, because he was about, like, Bakugo was on his breaking point, like he was about to explode Ida. But, Ida backed off and went to Deku, and Deku just froze his hand, so yeah. But let's cut to when everyone's finally in the classroom. Now, when everyone's finally in class, Aizawa wakes up and he says that it took you way too long to get into your seats and be quiet. That simply will not do. You're in 1A, you're supposed to be the best of the best. Meaning time is essential. And I only have 3 years to whip you all up into being great heroes. And just so you know, if I find and see that you're not trying or that you show no potential, best believe I'm either demoting you to 1B or I'm expelling you from the school. And Ochako pipes are saying, "Wait, what? That's not fair. You can't do that." And Aizawa just says, "Yeah, it is fair because I'm the 1A teacher. I run my class how I see fit. I once expelled an entire class simply because I saw no potential in any of them. And Azuku, hearing this, he already likes Aizawa. Like, seriously, he already likes Aizawa, not only because of his carefree demeanor, but because Aizawa, he acts like his voice and his monotone voice sounds like he's carefree and a bit lazy. But to Deku, he sees someone who has the balls to do what's right and knows what's right. So Deku, he truly admires Aizawa right now. And not only because, like, yeah, Aizawa and him have very similar personality traits, can't even front. Like, I made this Deku very similar to Aizawa, I can't even cap. But yeah, he still likes All Might, so like, yeah, win-win. But he does like All Might. He admires All Might and Aizawa, so I'm just gonna say that now. So yeah. Now, Aizawa says, alright, we're gonna be doing a Quirk assessment test. And Ochako again, but what about orientation? And Deku this time pipes up and says, what do you mean orientation? Didn't you just hear him? He says he wants us to be the best of the best. The best of the best doesn't have time for orientation. Time is of the essence. Did he not just say that? Aizawa, already liking this kid, is like, yeah, alright. And Ochako, she was taken aback by this, but was satisfied with with the answer that she was given because, well, it was a valid answer. And everybody puts on their gym uniform, and while they were in the locker room, all the boys were the Kirishima was just admiring how ripped Deku, Bakugo, and what's his name? Shoto was, and the hole in the wall was still there. So instead of Minietta, because I replaced him with Yumi, Kaminari is going to be the one to peep in the hole. Kaminari is looking through the hole, and he says all the lines Minietta would say, but says them way worse, in a much worse way. I'm not going to say it, but he then gets to Fuyumi, and the second that he says Fuyumi's first 4 syllables of her name, Azuku grabs his head and smashes it on the wall, and Todoroki grabs Kaminari and throws him against the locker because, yeah, that's his sister. Of course he's gonna get mad. And Azuku takes his hand, puts it over the hole, and says, "You not looking at my girlfriend, and if you ever talk about my girlfriend like that again, bro, best believe your ass is gonna get cuffed, no lie." And Azuku says this with such ferocity and venom in his voice that Kaminari was shook into his core. And let's just say Azuku said Kaminari's name, and Jairo's hearing all this. She tells the girl, she's like, wait, who's dating that white-haired boy? I think his name is Azuku. Fuyumi starts blushing, and then Jairo continues and says, cause he just stopped the pervert from peeping inside the locker room. And I think we should probably thank him. And he wasn't gonna do anything until he got up to you and, oh, so you're dating him. As she looks at Fuyumi, and I'm gonna say it, Ochako, she was about to, like, she kind of liked Izuku, not going front, because like all the girls had a tiny crush on Izuku, but like Fuyumi's the only one who actually tied the knot. Except Momo, because, like, yeah, I'm saving her for Todoroki. Yep, that's Todoroki's right there. That's Shoto Todoroki's. Gonna have to specify for you weirdos out there. So yeah, and I'm gonna say this: Izuku, he can very much well control his ice. When I say control it, I mean he can control it without physically having to touch it. So It's like cryokinesis. He's able to control ice. But he's only able to control the ice he creates, and he can only slightly, and I mean it's such a small percentage that he can control other people's ice that it's honestly just not useful. He can slightly control other people's ice. Now let's get into this. Izuku, he gets outside. The girls walk up to him all in unison, say thank you, and Fuyumi walks up to him, kisses him on the cheek, and says thank you for standing up for us. And Izuku, he blushing a little bit, just says no problem, baby. Yeah, no problem, baby. Like, yeah, that's what he says. Now, Izuku, he's smiling, wilding, while Kaminari's walking out with a broken nose and a black eye. Aizawa asking what happened. Kaminari making up some bullshit lie, saying that he fell on the locker and slipped on the water that was on the ground, and he ended up hitting his nose on the sink and his eye on the locker because he did not want to admit the fact that he was peeping. Oh, he gets sent to recovery girl, comes back, and they start the exam. Now, Aizawa throws the ball to Azuku and asks him how far was his highest throw in middle school without your quirk. Azuku says, I don't know, 50 meters? Aizawa says, impressive. Now, I want you to throw that with your quirk. And so Azuku encases his arm with, I'm not going to say his full power, because doing that would be overkill. He encases it in black and blue ice. You know what? Fuck it. He encases his arm in dry ice. And he encases the ball with dry ice. And as I said, he has cryokinesis over his own quirk, nobody else's. Well, kinda some other people's, but like not that much. So he has cryokinesis over his own quirk. So he envelops the ball in ice and it starts floating in his hand. And Azuku, he chucks the ball, and as I said, he enhances his body with ice. I remember me saying that he can enhance his body with ice. And so he chucks the ball, and this goes flying. This breaks the sound barrier multiple times, and it's already at like 1,000 meters. But Aizawa's about to say his score, but then Azuku's like, no, hold on, and he puts out his hand, and he aims it upwards, and it just goes to the outer atmosphere. And then Azuku's like, not done yet. And then he goes even further, pushing his quirk to its very limit, and it goes into orbit. Aizawa getting the thing back, and it says error. And then when it finally stops saying error, the number that pops up is infinity. So yeah, Azuku got infinity. Everybody is shocked by this, including Bakugo and Fuyumi and Todoroki, because Deku never mentioned the fact that he can control his ice to that degree. But they did know about the enhancement part, but they just didn't know about the cryokinesis. And if you're asking why am I making Deku so overpowered, it's because I want to. Yes, it's because I want to. That's why I'm making him overpowered. Except, don't think I'm a slack on the other characters now. I'm gonna make Todoroki much more powerful, and I'm gonna make Fuyumi a lot more powerful, and Momo, and Bakugo. So yeah, he's gonna have some nice rivals. And he's gonna have to struggle a bit against Todoroki, because yeah, you know what, fuck it. I might just to compete with Deku, I might just give him blue fire for a short amount of time. Who knows? Maybe I will, maybe I won't. You'll have to find out in the next part. But, okay, nah. But for real, though. They get all their test results back, and Azuku for the 100-meter dash, he beats Ida. He beats Ida. Yup. He uses dry ice on his feet, and he moves so fast that Aizawa didn't even get to finish clicking the button. Meaning, the second that his thumb was over the button and he said go, Azuku was already in front of him. Meaning, his speed was incalculable. Meaning, he already has that. But in reality, if you guys want a true estimation, he is not the speed of light. I'd say he's roughly 200,000 miles per hour with dry ice. But again, this takes a major toll on his body. After he did that stuff with the ice, his arm was already showing signs of severe frostbite and some cold burning. So, yeah. But don't worry, he may or may not soon learn how to harness that for a longer duration, but not forever. So, yeah. I'm gonna just skip over this entire thing because I truly don't feel like doing it. Not much has changed except for Momo's score. Instead of Momo's normal creation power, how she was able to create a cannon, she's able to use one for all in the objects in which she creates. That's what I'm gonna make it. Except once the object uses one for all, it just evaporates. So when she puts 100% in that cannon, it's fired off, and to her it felt like she broke an arm, but she didn't. Because remember, this is still technically part of her body. So, yeah. And so to her, it felt like a broken arm, and in reality, she did. She broke her arm, but the cannon went off. Aizawa was questioning on how the hell she broke her arm when she used her quirk. And I'm going to just say that she got 1,100 meters. Bakugo got 1,200. Because, yeah, I am buffing them. I want them to be as powerful as Azuku one day. Maybe, maybe not. Shoto, he got 1,100. He got the equivalent with Momo, just with his ice. And did I make him use his fire? If I did, I did. Cause this is the first time I actually forgot what happened in my previous what if. Yeah, sorry. The first time. But yeah. Okay, so actually no, never mind. I did. Never mind. I remember. I did. So yeah. Shoto uses his ice to get distance, but also encase the ball with fire to increase its propulsion, and he got the exact same score as Momo. Fuyumi, she creates fire tips around the ball, and she throws it. And at the very last possible second, she uses her ice to push it forward, and then uses her fingers to create some sort of like a jet propulsion like Todoroki did, but much more refined. So it goes a little bit further than Momo's. And this little slight burst, because like, yeah, I'm gonna just say that she condensed all her fire to her fingertips. Like all of her fire, like every single piece of fire she could fathom in her body into that one slight burst of motion, which is why it went further. Meaning after that, she was very exhausted and was basically on the verge of passing out, but she was able to stay awake for the rest of the test and regained her energy rather quickly. So I'm gonna just say that, long story short, Azuku got first, Fuyumi got third, Momo got second, Bakugo and Fuyumi tied for third, Todoroki and Momo tied for second, Deku got first. So everyone else was just like way lower. The person in last place this time was Hagakure. But because Aizawa saw potential, don't know how the fuck he saw potential in that, but okay. And yeah. But my thing is this. How did Hagakure get into UA? I know that those like truly, how were they able to track her? Like how did they calculate her score? Like, actually, how did they calculate her score? She's invisible. What, did they just follow her with like a infrared camera? Or better yet, they straight up have, better yet, bro, they straight up had a whole, I don't know, they just followed the one person with floating, they just followed the random floating clothing that's just traveling everywhere and just turning off robots. Like, yeah, that makes sense. But back to this though. Now, yeah, now, because I want to speed this along just a teensy bit, everything from here on happens to Canon. Ida, he's class rep, Momo's vice, that little incident in the lunchroom, that happened. The press getting into the school, that happened as well. Basically, everything went to Canon except the Deku squad and the Baku squad are two completely different things. The Deku squad is Momo, Todoroki, Shoto, Fuyumi, and Kirishima. So yeah. Now, the heroes versus villains. Let's get into the... One day, around 2 weeks into UA, All Might busts through the door and he says, running into the door like a normal person, as he put it. Yeah, normal person, my ass, but like, seriously. He says, running into the classroom like a normal person, as Aizawa says, this is your hero teacher, as you all know him, as they all yell, All Might! As, yeah, now, as All Might says the famous line, now you can't be a hero without looking the part, can you? As he presses a button underneath the desk, as a massive cabinet opens up, as all their hero costumes have been laid out there. Now, I'm probably going to post a photo of Azuku's hero costume up there, but I'm going to just say Azuku's hero costume is basically the thumbnail. It's essentially the thumbnail in a nutshell. That's his hero costume. Can't even front. That's his hero costume, except the clothes that he's wearing, it's very, very tempered to the point where it cannot be destroyed while using his cold. Meaning, he had to go to the support course and ask them to create a fabric that is extremely resistant to cold temperatures and will not tear apart or shrink it under cold temperatures. And can even sometimes keep the user warm if they overuse their quirk, like Deku. But yeah, he doesn't encounter that problem unless he uses, dry ice. But let's get back into this. Now, Azuku walks out and Fuyumi's blushing, bro. Like she looks at his hero costume and she's blushing, bro. Like, for real. Now, Fuyumi's hero costume is actually very similar to Shoto's in a sense, but it's basically, actually never mind, it's the exact same as Shoto's except without the half and half shit. It's just that her hands have she has gloves on her hands that protect the palm of it from getting burned. Like, if I did not say that before, only her tips of her fingers can actually use fire, so she wears gloves on the palm of her hand that cover the palm of her hand so that she can't, like, burn off her own hand, like basically burn her own hand, because as I said, basically her body is made for an ice quirk, but she just inherited the fire side a little bit, as the theory persisted, because the red in her hair. But back to this though. Now, Azuku, he looks at Fuyumi, he immediately starts blushing a bit, bro. Walks up to her, and they just start talking. The girl's blushing at Deku, but then they all realize, yeah, that's Fuyumi's man. They can't do nothing about it. Uraraka not taking the hint. Momo already gushing over Todoroki because I'm making it like that. Now, because I want to speed this along as far as possible, everything goes to canon except for the fight with Deku, Uraraka, Ida and Bakugo. Deku, he's just like, how should I do this? Cause yeah, All Might already said the famous line. He already rolled them as teammates, and Fuyumi replaces Minieta. So yeah, but because I want to make this as fast as humanly possible, because I want to get into the most juicy part of this story, Azuku, everything basically goes to canon actually, but never mind, a lot of things change, especially if you change Minieta's fight, and Fuyumi ends up freezing over the building like Todoroki, and instead of Minieta's team losing, they end up winning that round, meaning she ended up winning her match. And Todoroki, since he already uses his fire side, he doesn't overdo it with this quirk, and just once everybody's done, he just uses his fire, heats up their feet and lets them go free, meaning his teammate didn't actually get hurt that time, so he has an actual shot of becoming the MVP. Because he thought about others while he was using his quirk in that exact situation, and he did touch the bomb, so yeah. And Bakugo's also changes as well, because Bakugo and Deku's fight also changes as well, because Bakugo, since he's not as arrogant, he actually makes a plan. Except this plan was easily seen through, but it was still a plan nonetheless. The plan was for them to surprise Deku, and while they're surprising him, to take him out as fast as possible. As Ito was thinking about this, he's like, how about I also remove all the objects here so that it'll limit Uraraka's quirk usage. And Bakugo agrees with this, and they also say, we should probably not like stand in one area. We should also probably hide and wait for them to actually come here. Which is what Ida proposes, but then Deku's like, if we let Deku come here, he'll blitz the bomb. We need to take him out before he gets here. So that's what they do. And they're on the second floor this time. Not the second floor, what the fuck? They're on the third, so I'd say they move down to the second to confuse Deku's senses. And so yeah, when it actually starts, Deku cannot sense where the bomb is, but he has a good choice of where it is, because he starts thinking, if Bakugo knows that he cannot beat me, he would probably have moved away from the bomb, meaning that if they, given the amount of time, they would have had enough time to move down one floor or move up one floor. But considering that it's of course not on the first floor, they probably move down one floor, meaning that they're probably coming from me first, so that they can probably, as Deku's literally mumbling this, like he's mumbling this. As I said, he doesn't have the mumbling habit, but he does do it sometimes, from time to time. So Azuku then says, alright, the bomb's on the third floor. Uraraka looking at him dumbfounded like, bro, how the fuck? As Deku then explains, and she finally gets it. She's like, oh, alright then. As they start going inside the building, as All Might says commence, and when they get inside the building, Bakugo tries to go from behind Deku, and since Ida knows that Uraraka would try to go for the bomb afterwards, he waits in the hallway that he knows Uraraka's gonna go down. And so Ida stops Uraraka, they get into a fight, and Ida uses reciprocal burst on Uraraka, kicks her in the stomach, even though yeah, I know that's overkill. But yeah, he kicks her in the stomach, she heals over, she's basically out for the count. Bakugo's fighting Azuku, but Izuku's dominating by a lot. So Bakugo tries using both his gauntlets instead of one. All Might yelling, no, you'll kill him! As Deku's like, no he won't. And he shoots both gauntlets, this doing double the power. As I said, Bakugo's more powerful in this, but Deku's just godly. So Deku literally creates a dome of dry ice around him. Though this did hurt his arms while creating the ice, he still uses it and manipulates it so it surrounds Bakugo and basically restrains him. And since, dry ice is cold as hell, Bakugo cannot do much, and he heaves in. But when Ida sees this, he tries to use Reciprocal Burst again to try to blitz Deku, but Deku just straight up disappears from his sight, appears behind him, and kicks him clean in the head, with what looks to be an ice just straight up surrounding his leg, like an ice type gauntlet. Like, not a gauntlet, like an ice type heel, like an Achilles heel. And yeah, now I'm gonna say this also. It basically the ice. Whenever he creates ice around his arms and around his legs, it looks like the costume Deku has currently in the manga, except without the extra features. And yeah, basically it looks like the costume Gamma, I'm pretty sure. I might put a picture of it on screen, but yeah, it looks like costume Gamma but with blue on it. And the iron heels, that's basically what it looks like whenever he has it around his feet. So yeah. And now let's get into the USJ arc. Because I truly wanted to get into this part. This is my favorite part of the entire show, I can't lie to you. Now, when they get to school, they get towards the bus. When they get on, Fuyumi and Deku are sitting next to each other. They're just talking. And I might add a little bit of an 18 plus sign here because, like, yeah, I might do that. Who knows? But yeah. And let's get into this. Now, on the bus, they're talking about their quirks, and they're talking about who has the best quirk, and they say that it's tied between Momo, Todoroki, and Shoto Todoroki, Fuyumi Todoroki, and Deku. But they're all thinking that Deku's probably the strongest in the class because of his test scores, the final exams, and yeah, everyone agrees on this. And some a little more than others, like Ochako Uraraka, who starts hugging up on Deku when she says this. Fuyumi, seeing this, gets jealous and a bit angry and just creates a little bit of ice, touches Ochako's arm, giving it a slight bit frostbite, making her get off Deku. And then I'm gonna just add a bit of drama here. Ochako, she screams a bit, says, "What is wrong with you?" And Fuyumi said, "You're touching my boyfriend, and you're trying to hug up on him. He clearly is uncomfortable and doesn't like that." Deku, who's agreeing with her, says, "Yeah, that was kind of uncomfortable for you to do that." Ochako, like, trying to steal Deku, like, oh, I'm sorry. And she tries to get up on Deku, but like, wouldn't I be much better? Azuku cuts her off and says, "Fuck no. You are not much better. If I was to go to you, I would have to be 100 years old, drunk out of my mind, have Alzheimer's, have basically every elderly disease in the book, and also have a gun to my head with someone saying date her or else. That's how I would get with you. Your chances of getting with me are negative infinity." Deku says this so bluntly. And also the fact that you try to disrespect not only me, but my girlfriend, in this manner is just disgraceful. And then Deku just says that, and Fuyumi, she thanks Deku, gives him a little present. Now, just to piss off Ochako, Deku just goes up to Fuyumi, kisses her, bro, starts full on making out, bro. Aizawa not really giving a fuck, but just thinking in his head, that's my student right there. That's my favorite child. And he's saying that in his head. And let's just say this. Fuyumi goes on Deku's lap, and they just have that full-on tongue-on-tongue action, bro. Like, they doing combos. Like, shit, bro. If this was a video game, bro, Deku would have the highest score. Like, yes, sir. Like, yes, sir, bro. Like, for real. Azuku, he was giving it his all. Like, plus ultra. Like, seriously. Ochako was extremely pissed and extremely jealous, but kept a composed face. Though it was clear as shit that she was jealous. The girls were all a tiny bit jealous, except for like Momo. And maybe Mina, who knows? Maybe I'll give Mina the, I don't know, Bakugo or Kirishima and Bakugo, who knows? But just for shits and giggles, they started doing that all the way there, bro. Like, when they get there, they finally stop. Todoroki, he's a bit weirded out because he just saw his sister full on making out with one of his best friends. But then again, he realizing that, at least it's Deku. Like, that's what he's thinking. If it was anybody but him, they would probably be dead. So, like, yeah. But now back to the story, and well, the actual story. Now they go into the USJ. Hero 13 starts explaining, and Azuku, he feels something's gonna go wrong, and this is his presence, by the way, again, telling him that there's people here, but Deku doesn't see them, so he's like thinking about putting it off. But he then starts seeing a black mass open in the middle of the USJ. He immediately tells Aizawa, he's like, is that supposed to be happening? And Aizawa says no, and starts running towards the villains, and starts doing the most badass fight scene I've ever seen. Then Azuku says his famous line, but you can't take them all on. You're a stealth hero, you're more better in one-on-one fights. And then Aizawa says, sorry kid, but you can't be a hero you can't be a pro hero by just being a one-trick pony. As he then proceeds to fold the shit out of the 100 villains that have just leaped out of this portal. Like, damn, your boy Azuku, he's like, oh shit, alright, he left. But like, yeah, everything goes to canon for a certain duration. That duration being when Azuku gets teleported and everybody leaves finally. When Azuku gets teleported, he falls out of the sky, but he sees that he's landing over water and he just freezes the ice. Actually, not even. He just straight up jumps. He just straight up is falling, and then he just jumps on the ice. Like, he just steps on the ice. Like, second he touches it, it just freezes. And so Azuku, he's just like, you know what, I'm gonna let loose. And he lets his presence go up a bit, and he just walking around, and everything's just freezing underwater. And he sees Asui just swimming under the water. And let's just say Fuyumi was with him instead of Minietta, because like, I keep forgetting that. But Minietta is no longer there. Gotta keep that in mind. So Fuyumi, she's falling. Azuku, he sees this. He just underneath her directly and just catches her. Asui just jumps on the boat. Azuku just walks over to the boat and puts down Fuyumi. And Asui is like, how are we gonna get out of here, Ribbit? And Azuku's just like, I'll just freeze the water. And Asui's like, wait, how large of an area can you use your quirk? And Izuku just says, I don't know, I haven't tried it. And he just freezes the entire I don't know, basically miniature lake, basically like a massive lake, I guess, mini ocean, I don't know, and he just freezes it over, and all the villains are just stuck, just basically having hypothermia currently. They'll survive, I think. Yeah, this is the creator saying I think. Yeah, that's so you know they're dead. But anyways, let's get back into it. When Azuku, he finally turns back around and stops freezing and basically freezing the wide area, he turns back to Asui, who's basically shivering, and he stops releasing his presence, and her body temperature goes back up, and they start walking towards the mainland. And Aizawa, he just finished beating on every single villain there, and the Nomu, I'ma just say for shits and giggles, it's much more powerful. So yeah, this, I'm pretty sure I buffed All Might probably. Like, I probably buffed him. If I didn't, I did. You're gonna see why in the future, but for right now, the Nomu is much more powerful, meaning he has a bit more shock absorption and a little bit more strength, which is enough to turn the tide. But yeah, and because Shigaraki's still petty man-child, he yells, "Nomu, kill Aizawa." Well, not Aizawa, what? Kill Pro Hero Eraserhead. Actually, you know what? Kill those kids, as he points towards Deku and Suasui and Fuyumi, who just got on the mainland. And the Nomu goes for Suasui first, but Deku freezes him in his place. The Nomu just breaks out of it in like 4 seconds, but this was just enough for Suasui to get away. And when Suasui finally got away and got towards Aizawa, picked them up and started running towards the entrance of the USJ. He tries to go for Fuyumi, but Deku does the same thing again, except this time the Nomu was stuck there for a little bit longer, but it broke out again. And then Azuku, what the fuck was I gonna say again? I lost my train of thought. Never mind, I got it. And Fuyumi, he was running away, caught up to Suasui and helped her get Aizawa up the stairs. And basically, it's just a reoccurring thing of Deku dodging out of the way, and the Nomu just straight up trying to hit Azuku, and Deku dodging out of the way and freezing it, and the Nomu breaking free. But anything Deku would do, it just wouldn't do anything. And that's when Shigaraki's just laughing in an evil, sinister laugh while scratching his neck, saying, as he's boasting about the fact that you can't kill that Nomu kid. It's meant to destroy All Might, and he has shock absorption and regeneration, as he's laughing his ass off in a sinister tone. As Azuku, he's getting more pissed, but Fuyumi, she's seeing that Azuku can't do much, so she goes up to try and help him. And by this time, everybody was finally getting over there, and the Nomu, instead of focusing on Azuku, took his attention off him and went straight for Fuyumi. And Fuyumi, she's not as fast as Izuku, but she was just barely able to dodge. When I mean barely, I mean the gust still kind of hit her, but it didn't actually hit her. So she still felt a little bit of pain. And she tries to use her quirk on the Nomu, but it doesn't do anything. And the Nomu just grabs her and chucks her. And slams her on the ground. He chucks her, picks her up, then slams her on the ground. And Fuyumi, she's alive, but she's like half dead, but like still, she's alive. She just has a broken arm and a broken leg and is bleeding a lot. And before the Nomu could land the finishing blow, Azuku stops his hand. Right now, yeah, Azuku blocked the punch, and he was livid. When I mean livid, I mean he was so angry, it doesn't even deter how angry he was. When he blocked the punch. He had dry ice all over his hands, but he still got knocked back. And he picked up Fuyumi, brought her over to the front of the USJ. The Nomu tried to follow them, but Deku just whipped around and kicked it clean in the face, knocking it straight to the ground. And Deku, he instantly just straight up gets so angry. When I mean angry, I mean his eyes are glowing blue. Like, this is a blue that they've never seen. This anger has pushed him over the edge. And he leaves Fuyumi and Todoroki and the rest of the girls' care as he turns his attention towards the Nomu and Shigaraki and Kurogiri, and they see the blue that's leaking from his eyes. And Izuku then straight up just... Azuku, he then releases all of his presence all at once. Like, when I mean his presence, I mean he releases... He stops holding back. He stops keeping everything in control. He lets his power roam free. And all you see is a blue... All you see is a blue sky. Like a bluish black. Like a bluish black glow coming from Izuku's eyes. The green that was once in his eyes, around the silhouette of his pupil, the green that was once there is no longer there. It's replaced with nothing but black. Now, the dry ice that Azuku created around his arm no longer affected him for this short duration by the power of plot armor, but it no longer was white. Azuku's dry ice had turned pitch black, as this ice was so cold that it could not feasibly sustain a proper color. This ice is the type of ice that's created on an asteroid or a comet. This level of frost is something that Azuku could have hoped to reach in the future. But his sheer anger and willpower is allowing him to use it. As Azuku, right now, I know his ice can enhance his body, and I'm going to just say this, his speed far surpasses the Nomu's. As when the Nomu tries to blitz Deku, Deku instantly was already behind the Nomu, grabbed its head and chucked it straight towards Shigaraki. Kurogiri ported Shigaraki to another part of the USJ, or still near the battle, but not close enough to where it would actually matter. But it's where the Nomu landed that shocked everybody. Where the Nomu landed, it was a crater. Not just any normal crater, a crater that's around 5 feet deep. And around it was around basically damn near 500 feet wide. That's how big the crater was. And Azuku, he did not stop there. The second that the Nomu landed, Azuku was already behind it, kicking it through the air. Every hit making shockwaves that broke the sound barrier, basically taking the life out of this Nomu. The Nomu's shock absorption couldn't do shit. The only thing keeping the Nomu alive at this point was the regeneration ability that it had. Azuku straight up not even caring for his own well-being, as the dry black ice just starts hurting and burning his skin. Azuku, not giving no fucks at this point, has thrown caution out the wind and starts beating the Nomu. At this point, All Might has just busted into the USJ to just see a banged up Fuyumi on the ground, almost completely unconscious, and an Azuku literally murdering a creature, as he put it. And All Might was about to step in, but Bakugo and Todoroki both stopped him and said, "Don't. If you step in, that thing was meant to kill you." And he's taking it down like it's child's play. Now, Azuku, back to the fight. Azuku's beating on this Nomu. Like, this Nomu's dying. Like, this Nomu's crying out in pain. If Nomus were not sentient before to emotion, this one sure has one now. It's called fear. Like a wild animal afraid of its prey. As the Nomu's trying to run away, but Shigaraki orders it to go back into the fight, and it can't defy the order. So it instinctively goes back to try and fight Azuku. Azuku going blow for blow, breaking the Nomu's arms, shattering it. And Azuku's not holding back no more. He's going off. He's not holding anything back. He's going angrier and angrier as each punch goes on, as he starts creating more and more ice, as his eyes go from a dark blue, to a dark blue, as everybody could see the glow. And Azuku gets so angry. He gets even angrier and angrier. All you hear is the venom in his voice as he speaks. He's like, "You have trifled with my class for the wrong day, and you have touched the one I love the most." As he then gets so angry that he channels all of his ice, meaning only thing that's there is the normal dry ice on his legs and the ice on his arm, and both his arms are already like scorched, and he punches the Nomu so hard that it obliterates down to the molecular level, and there's literally nothing left of the Nomu. All there is literal ash of the Nomu's molecules literally ripping apart due to how cold it was. And Azuku, he finally drops out of the mode, but not before looking towards Shigaraki and sending a massive black iceberg towards him. Him getting his arm touched by the black ice, but Kurogiri coming in major clutch and saving him from it. But don't think this did no significant damage, no. Shigaraki, his arm, the upper part of it was almost completely frozen off. It was so cold that they almost thought about amputating his limb before All For One came and gave Shigaraki a regeneration quirk so that he can regenerate his arm but take it away afterwards so that he could sustain his life force for more longer. But let's go back to the USJ. As Izuku drops out of the form and all his ice melts, as his legs and arms look as though they're broken and frosted over, and look like they've been burned with ice, as everybody's just in straight fear of what Deku just did. Like, everybody is in fear and in awe. All Might runs over and he picks up Izuku and rushes him towards the entrance where the rest of the pro heroes has just started arriving to see Izuku and Fuyumi in the worst conditions they could possibly be in. The teachers ask All Might what happened, and All Might and the students explain on how Deku just slaughtered a villain who hurt Fuyumi in this way. Though it didn't look like it was human, it looked like a creature. Something that was mindless, that would only take orders. We noticed this when the other villain, who looked like the ringleader, I think he called himself Shigaraki, and he gave it an order while it was running away, and he turned around and fought him without hesitation. As they're explaining in detail of what happened with Deku. And the pros are just shocked. And they look at All Might's face, and they could tell that All Might's in fear. He feels they could tell that All Might was scared to make this kid mad. Like, they could tell All Might was scared of this kid. And they're just like, All Might, don't tell me what he did was actually true. And then they're like, yes, it was. As there was, let's just say there was cameras in the USJ, and they could have they played everything of what happened. And when Aizawa woke up and he saw the recording, he was just shocked. And they all have a meeting about it, and they're talking with each other about it. Some pros wanted to throw Azuku in a prison for using his quirk illegally. And some pros were just so afraid that they just didn't want Deku to become a hero. All Might instantly shutting them down and got their license suspended for even bringing that up, saying you're just gonna try to throw him away because his quirk is powerful. Are you guys idiots or what? And this is coming from All Might. And Nezu also agrees with All Might on this and says, you guys have no say in the matter. I've already made my decision and we're keeping him in UA. Also, if you all even think of trying to do something to my students of my school, I will personally have your hero license revoked and any possession you own to be repossessed. As Nezu says this in a monotone voice, and all the heroes who are opposed to keeping Azuku in UA straight up shut up quick. Like, Nezu bitched them. Yup. Same with All Might. He bitched them as well. Including Aizawa too. When he woke up, he was pissed that they even had to think about this option. Like, he was just defending himself. Like, what would have happened if he had not been there? His class and him would have probably been dead. As he says this, as all the heroes who are opposed to it are now realizing their flaw in their logic, and they apologize. And Fuyumi and Azuku, they're in a room. They're in a room in the same room together. They're just unconscious. Like, Fuyumi wakes up first, and she asks what happened. As they show her the video of Azuku beating that Nomu's ass to the ground. Like, Jesus Christ. The level in which that Nomu was demolished was unfathomable. And they're like, and then she asks the prime question, what made Azuku so angry? And he says he saw you get hurt by that thing. So he went off. He stopped holding back, as they all put it. And Todoroki and Bakugo were both pondering the thought that he's been holding back this power this entire time. And same with Momo, because she doesn't even think, not even All Might thinks that with 100% of One For All, and with both of them coming at Izuku, and if he was that angry at them, they would not survive. Momo's pondering that thought right now, and so was All Might while he was rewatching the video. And Izuku, he finally wakes up after a couple more hours as they're talking with Fuyumi, and Azuku, when he wakes up, his arms and legs were healed because they were just burns. They can be healed rather quickly, but not just any burns, cold burns, so they could regenerate. Unlike Dobby's scorch burns, but let's not talk about that. And now Izuku, he wakes up, he instantly looks next to him and he sees Fuyumi. He instantly goes up to her. Bro, Sun and them, they start doing that tongue action again, like on the USJ bus. As they're just happy they're okay. Class is happy they're okay. Bakugo, Todoroki, and Momo are just in awe still that Deku was holding back that much power. And he then thinks of what happened, and then Aizawa then ponders, like, so what happened? He then asks what happened to Azuku after this, as they then tell him his injuries and on how he basically, his tissues were just frozen over, but because his body's used to cold temperatures, they've become accustomed to regenerating after this. So we've been able to heal him, meaning if he does this again, he can always just heal over. Meaning there's no permanent damage. Aizawa glad to hear this. And yeah, that's the end of What If Deku Had an Ice Quirk Part 2. If you guys want a Part 3, let me know in the comments, and I know you guys probably will. I'm going to be uploading Part 4 or 5, I think, of What If Deku Was Betrayed quite soon after this, but until then, I'll see you guys soon.